Hi, I'm Simone. Happy BassOWeen, and welcome to the first episode of Haunted Technique. That's right, I think there's a few double bass technique topics that seem almost haunted by the amount of fear and excitement surrounding them. So I'm going to tackle a few of these during BassOWeen and hopefully demystify them and make them a whole lot easier. So first of all, in this episode, I'm going to focus on shifting. That's right, shifting up and down the string. Back and forth to different notes. Now remember, you're not shifting to another dimension. You don't need to find a time portal. You're not reading a message on an Ouija board. You're merely moving your hand up and down the fingerboard to play different notes. And the great thing is, the notes are always in the same place, which means that this D right here is always going to be right there. Now, I will give a little caveat, disclaimer, that that's true in this double bass, but if you play someone else's double bass, it might be different, because I recently played a double bass where when I put my thumb here, right here, there, and my first finger down, that was not a D, and boy was that disturbing. But anyway, what I mean is, on your particular instrument, once you know where the notes are, that's where they're going to be. And if they're not there, it means you need to tune, you know? So that's the where are the notes part of the equation for shifting. And then the other side of it, which I think is often not focused upon enough, is the how fast are you getting there aspect. Because if you play two notes to get the, especially on the same bow without changing bows, so like you can hear the shifting noise. And sometimes you may want to hear the shifting noise, like in the excerpt from Pictures at an Exhibition. Let's hear that one. You may want to hear a little bit of a slide between the B flat and the F for drama, but there's a lot of other times you don't want to hear that, so make sure you're not hearing it. And how do you not hear it? Just move your hand faster. That's the main thing. And sometimes using separate bows helps as a shortcut to that as well. So and another point I want to make about shifting, and I hope this isn't stating the obvious, but you know, you want to know what the different intervals are, and that way when you're shifting to them, it helps with your intonation. So like, here's a perfect fourth. If I want a perfect fifth. And then the thing to remember when you're doing that in different octaves, see, I didn't know where it was. Whoa. The thing is, as you go up the fingerboard, the space between the notes becomes smaller because the notes are higher in pitch. But once you practice enough, which obviously I still need to do, you wind up with the muscle memory to remember where the notes are. And then also it's kind of a feeling, like I know I'm up in some position. It's the feeling of how far you have to move your hand. Well, let me give you some examples from BassOWeen season. So we have this theme from Dracula written by John Williams. And I'm going to play it with a big shift from a C to a B natural. And obviously a way to get out of shifting also is just to play across the string. But I've talked about that in some other videos, and that has its own issues. So anyway, today we're focusing on shifting. So let's hear how it sounds. So I start here. bows too. So I did a down bow and an up bow in that shift. Now, if I wanted to connect the bowing, which I don't think I do for this particular memory, but this particular phrase. But let me do that just to see what happens, because then I think we get into the issue of the shifting noise. But remember, those are the 2 points. Where are you going and how fast are you getting there? So that really helps your shifting. Another bit of music that I associate with BassOWeen is Foray's Sicilienne, because it was featured in a Dracula film. So I've always thought of it for spooky season. Now in there's a really big shift as well. I didn't get there. I played a C instead of a D flat. So let me try again. So again, you can avoid a shift if you play the E flat here. But if you don't, you really have to land in the D flat. It's kind of important. Well, I think as you can see today by my very imperfect demonstration, shifting can be scary, and it's a matter of learning where all the notes are and practicing enough to shift to the correct spot and to shift quickly enough so that you don't share that shifting noise with the audience. So anyway, I hope this has been helpful, and the next time someone tries to spook you about shifting and tell you how hard it is and difficult and how challenging it is to learn, just remember you can do it step by step with practicing your scales and arpeggios and your etudes and everything else, and you'll get there.